Story 1. Women are furnaces. I typically spoon them until they are asleep, then give them space and sleep normally on my side of the bed. Story 2. Spoon with me behind her, arm around her waist, hand resting on her right breast, head resting on my pillow, me wedged into her backside. After she heats up like a furnace, I roll away, cool down, and fall into a deep sleep. This works well. Story 3. Once she's unconscious, I carefully slip out from under the covers and hook my talons onto the crossbar I have bolted into the ceiling over the bed, suspending myself upside down in the air above her unaware body. I then wrap my wings around me like a blanket and drift off into peaceful slumber until the light of dawn begins to break through the blinds. Story 4. On my back with her head on my chest. I generally sleep better on my back as it helps me look at the door if I wake up. Story 5. Either on my back with my wife's head on my chest or cuddled up behind her. Sometimes, I am the little spoon and she is like a cuddly small backpack. My wife is starting with menopause symptoms right now, so we can't always cuddle as she feels like a furnace at times. Story 6. My wife and I have a king-size bed, and we roll away from each other to sleep on our respective edges. This is wonderful. Story 7. My girl usually moves to her stomach, and then I'll lie on my back with my hand on her buttock. If we get hot, we will both spread apart, but our feet always have to be touching no matter what. Story 8. Spoon until she falls asleep or she tells me I'm making her too warm. Then roll over and it's Street Fighter, tiger kick position, or on my back looking like a vampire in a coffin. Story 9. I only consistently shared a bed with two women. One was very active and would attack me in her sleep, ripping off the covers, balling them up, then ejecting them onto her side of the bed. I spent a lot of nights in a chair or on the floor. The other was my wife. We were in perfect sync. Facing each other and holding hands was the norm, but in colder climates, she'd curl up tucked against me on our right sides with my right arm over her head or supporting her neck, and my left arm around her, with her clutching that hand with both of hers. Of course, that changed when our daughter came along. Those intimate sleeping positions had her between us, doing her little face-down sleeping. Curiously, when alone, I sleep the same way. We had incredibly similar mannerisms. Story 10. On my back, she cuddles with me or usually just presses against me with one leg thrown over. It's easier to take the blanket off half of me when she gets too warm. Story 11. The one where you boot her off the edge and just starfish across at any angle you like. I love my partner and I can't sleep without feeling her next to me. But on rare occasions, usually during peak summer, I do have that little fantasy. Story 12. We get hot, so I lay flat on my back with one hand on her backside, squeezing a cheek until I fall asleep. She got used to it and couldn't sleep without my hand. Once, I was up late watching a movie, and she came and got me a little grumpily. We got into bed. She grabbed my hand, placed it down the back of her underwear, and went to sleep. Story 13. Big spoon. Pressed up against her. Top arm wrapped around her cupping a breast. Bottom arm under her pillow slowly losing all feeling. Alternatively, on my back with her on her side, her head on my chest, and her leg over me. Then I'll gently play with her hair and stroke her back until she falls asleep. Story 14. As a woman, I am the big spoon, and my 6'3" boyfriend is the little spoon. He scoots his back in his sleep if I dare to leave his side. Story 15. Not a guy, but answering on behalf of my husband. He likes to spoon me for a little bit, then rolls over to sleep in the Master Chief death pose. Story 16. It really depends on how much heat is generated from us touching. The girl I am currently seeing is very cold, so it is effectively the first time I have been able to cuddle comfortably through the night. My choice is to lie on my back, with her laying on me, but I snore a lot. Story 17. On my back, while she's cuddled up close to me with her leg over my abdomen and my arm wrapped around her shoulder. My arm falls asleep every time, but it's like being stuck under a sleeping cat. Heat isn't an issue because I always sleep with a fan pointing at me. Or her sleeping on top of me, that's nice sometimes too. Story 18. Her head on my chest, leg interlocking with mine. I have to be honest, anytime they aren't breathing directly on me, I can't help but feel anxious about whether they are breathing or not. Thank goodness I haven't had children because I doubt I would sleep at all because of this. Story 19, spooning, no question. Every night my girlfriend and I slept together, we'd spoon. She also liked to intertwine her legs with mine and put one of my hands under her shirt to cup one of her breasts. It was an amazing way to fall asleep. I miss it. Story 20. I like spooning her, but usually my arm falls asleep, so then I like to lie on my back while she cuddles me and I have an arm wrapped around her. Story 21. I've gotten too used to sleeping alone and having full range over the bed. Sleeping with a girl feels strange because I have to share covers with her and also be cautious not to pass gas in my sleep. Story 22. Usually, I am the big spoon with my arm under her neck and the pillow so it's comfortable. But being the small spoon is great too. Story 23. It's gonna probably sound weird, but it's when we're both flat on our stomachs, and one of my legs is on top of her at a 90-degree angle, with the arm on the same side wrapped around her. I sleep the same way when it's just me in the bed, too, just without anything underneath my leg. Story 24. I'll spoon her with my hands holding both her breasts until she falls asleep. After that, I roll over so I can fall asleep, and she'll end up spooning me in her sleep. If I move away, she always finds me. Story 25. My girl likes to lay on my shoulder when I'm on my back. I cannot sleep on my back when lying down alone, as my body seems to forbid it and forces me to turn over. Story 26. Away from her, I sleep hot. Although I like to cuddle, I prefer to have a pillow between my legs and lie on my side or stomach. But waking up with a girl's arm on my chest while she's kissing my neck is heaven. Story 27. Turn to the edge of the bed to save my skin from pooling up with sweat and sliding off my body due to the heat in the sheets with me. Story 28. I am a furnace. If it's cold, I'll sleep under a single sheet, and she'll have the comforter over her but will rest her head on my chest. Sometimes we'll spoon, with her under the comforter and me keeping her back warm. Sometimes we'll watch TV in bed. I'll put my head on her chest and nod off. Story 29. Once, with my ex-girlfriend, we were cuddling and started playing. My penis was between her legs as I played with her clitoris to her first orgasm. Because she was so wet, I was able to gently slide it into her and bring her to a second orgasm. We fell asleep with me still inside her. I woke up an hour later, still inside her and hard, so I did it again. Story 30. I'm on one side of the bed with my own blanket and pillows. She's on the other side with her own blanket and pillows. Story 31. Favorite? On my side, I'm a side sleeper, facing away from her or facing her if she's facing away from me. Does this ever actually happen? Rarely, in my experience. My current girlfriend and I have been together for about a month and a half. We both live with our parents, so sleeping together is rare. The first time we spent the night together, we were cuddling. I was the big spoon, which was nice. Then she started falling asleep, and her body started heating up. I didn't want to bother her sleeping, but I was sweating all night. This was the first time I've experienced this. I finally understand when people say women are furnaces. Story 32. I usually get really hot, so it's just cuddling until we both finally hit REM sleep. Then I would wake up next to the girl, but I'd be sleeping the normal way I sleep on my side. Women run really hot, and so do I. So usually once we both fall asleep, we get too warm and end up separating anyway. I've only ever woken up once with a woman cuddled in my arms, and that was because we both fell asleep on the couch and had a 3-hour nap lying together. Story 33. Close enough that she doesn't think I dislike her anymore, but far enough away to not feel like I'm sleeping outside under the sun in a desert with 90% humidity. I love a good snuggle, but I also like the surrounding air to be below 95 degrees Fahrenheit when I'm trying to fall asleep. Story 34. With her going to the spare room bed, I can sprawl out and get some peace. My wife has been making all kinds of falling asleep noises lately. Her cough, sniff, ahem, sniff, toss, turn, mutter, body twitch. Story 35. I usually sleep facing down with one of my arms stretched out to touch my wife. It's hard to sleep while cuddling. I move a lot before falling asleep. Story 36. On my back on my own side of the bed, I sweat from skin to skin contact, and if I overheat in my sleep, I get vivid nightmares. Took a while to figure it all out, but now I get much better rest at slumber parties. Story 37. All-time favorite? I like the cold a lot. I just run hot normally. The best sleep I ever got with a lady in my bed was with someone who was fine with the air conditioning being cranked on in autumn because we slept tangled up like snakes. So I kept her warm, but it was cold enough that I didn't overheat. Story 38. Spoon them, with my hand resting near her heart. It soothes me and lets me know that she's okay. I get as close as possible and cuddle her. I also love cradling her when she's facing me. Nothing is better than when a woman nuzzles into your chest, and you fall asleep playing with her hair. Story 39. If it's to sleep at night, I like to spoon. If it's a nap, I love to put my head inside her shirt and sleep on her chest. Story 40. My ex was an expert at stealing blankets. I am 6 feet tall, and she is about 5 feet, and I would constantly wake up with nothing while she was wrapped up in everything. Story 41. Completely entangled facing each other for a bit, then a distant spoon is nice with a hand over her and my thigh to her butt. I am hopeless, and given the chance, I want to cuddle forever, but it gets too hot. I can barely regulate my body heat when I'm alone. With another body in bed, it just can't be done. Story 42. I like to think of this as a secret technique, but you have them lay next to you with their head on your chest. To avoid feeling too hot, you sleep without the blanket on any part of yourself except your feet, so you don't get too cold. I'd like to think the place where your blood would cool the most is the feet since it's the farthest from your body and heart. Story 43. I have unintentionally done this twice. I fall asleep on my girlfriend's flat stomach. I can hear her heartbeat and if she's hungry. If I'm really tired, I sometimes fall asleep when she's just talking to me because cuddling with her is so peaceful. Story 44. Usually, I fall asleep on my back with my wife on my right side facing me, but in the middle of the night, it always changes to her facing away, with me behind her, arms over her side, holding her. Story 45. Back to back on separate ends of the bed if I actually want to sleep. If I want to potentially have sex, then my crotch to her but one arm underneath her losing circulation, her hair in my face itching my nose and eyes, and her feet on my legs, stealing all my warmth in exchange for extreme cold. Story 46. It really depends on the girl. My wife and I sleep with my back to her, mostly because she has many electronic devices. My girlfriend sleeps with her head on my chest. Story 47. Basically, in a half-guard position, I'm face down with one leg laced with her legs and an arm wrapped around her. My other arm is stretched out away from the furnace, and I can turn my head away from her to get cool air when I need it. Story 48. I'm a hot sleeper, so I can't sleep through the night cuddling. I like some pre-sleep cuddling, but when we're both ready for sleep, or she dozes off, then I'll roll over and sleep on my side of the bed. Story 49. Big spoon. Sometimes it led to intimate times. Even when we weren't in the mood, having my hand on her stomach, especially when she was pregnant, was comforting. However, I twitch a lot in my sleep, so eventually, she would move my arm. Story 50. I had a girlfriend once who sometimes wanted to sleep spooning, but with the addition of penetration, but no moving. I was very bad at it at first because eventually I started moving, but once I got accustomed to the no movement rule, it wasn't that bad. Story 51. Little spoon wear her like a backpack, and she gives me warmth during the winter. Summertime, I sleep on top of the covers without touching her. Too hot. Story 52. Big spoon. Both on the right side, right arm up over and frequently playing with her hair, left either snuggled between her legs or grabbing a handful of her chest, and her feet tucked back between my calves. It's the go-to sleeping pose. Otherwise, it's me on my back with her head on my chest, or me staying big spoon while she flips around and moves up to snuggle my face in her chest. But those positions tend to be transitional either into sleep mode, getting up, or getting frisky. Story 53. I sleep in all kinds of positions. I'm like a human radiator, so I always feel like I have a fever over my whole body. Story 54. My husband and I take turns being the big spoon. Usually, he has to tap out before he falls asleep because his arm or hip starts to hurt, and then we roll over and go to sleep in our separate areas. Story 55. Big spoon the wife, but if I come to bed after and fall asleep too quickly, she gets upset. So, I give her a quick spoon for 5 minutes or so, then roll over and cuddle the little dogs. Story 56. I'm a back sleeper, so my preferred method is for her to be on her side, laying her head on my chest or shoulder while I have my arm around her. Story 57. I pretty much always sleep on my back. I'm strange. I don't like being spooned or spooning someone all night. It makes me too hot and uncomfortable, but sleeping next to her is still comforting. Story 58. Not touching. If she sleeps on my shoulder or chest, or if I spoon her, then I end up with a dead arm or one arm awkwardly smushed into the bed. That's besides wearing a continuous positive airway pressure machine, making cuddling during sleep basically impossible anyway. Story 59. I've had the same girl sleeping next to me for almost 46 years. I sleep on my back, and my wife sleeps on her left side snuggled up against me. Story 60. I don't mind being the big spoon while falling asleep. I usually wake up due to how uncomfortable the position is a couple of minutes later. At that point, I move back to my side of the bed and put a pillow between us. It's way too hot otherwise. Story 61. We cuddle tightly or spoon each other while holding hands all night. She's like a human hot water bottle in winter. Best feeling ever. Story 62. Usually, we start by spooning, but my girlfriend sleeps on her tummy and hugs me with one hand. If I turn to my side, she keeps moving closer every time I try to escape the heat, until I end up at the edge of the bed. What worked best for us to prevent that from happening is having her stay towards the middle. When sleeping somewhere else, I learned the hard way to avoid being next to a wall or any solid barrier. Story 63. If she is a cold girl, I love spooning and holding her. If she is a hot girl, I'm a hot guy, then my back is to her, but I press my butt against hers. Story 64. I cherish my sleep, so I sleep on my back and need space for my broad shoulders. This way, if I stretch out, I won't accidentally hit her in the face. Story 65. I'll spoon her, or she'll spoon me, or I will be on my back and she will have one leg over one of mine, using me as a body pillow. All are awesome. Story 66. As far away as possible. I run hot anyway, I move a lot in my sleep, and I instantly wake up if I touch something that is not supposed to be there. Story 67. I'm the big spoon until I'm ready to sleep. I cannot sleep if I'm being touched. I don't like it, but I accept it. Story 68. Spoon, then roll over onto my right side facing out. Still, I either use my hand or foot to touch them throughout the night. Story 69. On my half of the bed, I cuddle. Women are not only like furnaces, as already mentioned, but I also move a lot. Story 70. The iPod shuffle. I continuously rotate, twirl, and flip-flop at the foot of the bed, switching which arm falls asleep before I do until it's 6:30 a.m. and I can finally fall asleep, only to be awakened by my alarm at 7:30 a.m. The sheets look like a hurricane came through, or like a deranged mutant squirrel the size of a human was trying to stash nuts somewhere in the bed. Story 71. 10 minutes of spooning followed by 8 hours of sleeping on my side of the bed, perhaps with a hand on a breast for good measure. Story 72. Women tend to be hot sleepers, and for some reason they are always warm. I usually spoon until they are asleep, and then I sleep on my own, either on my back, sideways facing away from her, or just next to her. Story 73. Side with a tall pillow between arms to support arms and shoulders. The girl also needs to be a few inches away from me, or I get too hot. Story 74. Spoon a bit first, then hold hands or touch feet on our respective sides of the bed. I like cuddling, but I can't sleep unless I'm in my dead guy back flat sleeping position. Story 75. I love the idea of cuddling to sleep, and I do love to cuddle with my wife, but in reality, I just like to be next to her without really contacting her if I'm trying to sleep. Trying to sleep while cuddling makes every roll over or adjustment difficult without disturbing your partner. It's just not worth it. So, my answer is just sleeping normally next to her with my own blanket because my wife steals the covers every time. Story 76. Start as the big spoon, with your arm in that perfect nook under her neck, then roll over and sleep on your back. Arms still pinned, though. Story 77. With my wife, I typically fall asleep with my hand on her. She's a heater when she sleeps, and I won't be able to sleep with her cuddling me during the summertime. Story 78. The couch with the dog. There's a girl in my bed many nights. My daughter likes to steal my spot so she can cuddle up with her mother. I have the option of getting kicked in the back all night or moving to the couch. Story 79. When I think she is asleep, I sneak out of the cuddle position, wrap her like a burrito in the covers, and claim my nice cool corner of the mattress. Story 80. Duvet on, duvet off, duvet on, duvet off. So I'll take my 1/3 of my half and sleep with my rear hanging off the bed, while she does the starfish thing in the rest of the bed. Story 81. I don't mind starting out as the big spoon, but I like sleeping when I'm cold or cool. When spooning, I get too hot, so I usually go back to back but reach my arm back to rub her leg. Story 82. She is almost as tall as I am, so spooning is not convenient for me. Usually, I lie on my back, and she rests her head on my chest. This is very sensual for me, and I immediately relax. Feels like my woman is close to my heart. Once I fall asleep, she moves to her side and sleeps comfortably. I have asked her why she does this. She replied that she wants to hear my heartbeat rise and slowly drop to a stable rate, and it's like a soothing tune that helps her to sleep. Sometimes in the middle of the night, she spoons me too or turns her body towards me and places her leg over my body. Story 83. Same as usual. Facing the side of the bed, regardless of which side I'm sleeping on. Sleeping is critical and quality is important. There will be some hugging before falling asleep, but during sleep, sleep takes priority. Story 84. Considering I've only shared a bed with a woman when going on holiday with a good friend of mine, the other side of the bed. Story 85. I'm on my back with my right arm under her neck. She's on her left side with her head and right hand on my chest, and her right leg across my right leg. Her right hand is on my chest, and my left hand is holding it. Story 86. Far away and completely comfortable. Love sex and snuggles, but when it's time to sleep, get over to your side of the bed. Story 87. Not a man, but I apparently surprised my current friend with benefits with how I sleep. He wanted to sleep spooning, but I am a belly sleeper. I do that ballerina style or jumped from the top of a building pose, and I like to wrap my leg with his and always hold part of him like his thumb or thigh. No sweating, and it's easy to change positions without waking the other. Story 88. I would have my arms wrapped around her and hold her close. I'm not sure how many women actually want that, though. I imagine after some time you just have things you naturally do. Story 89. Away from her with my own space on my side of the bed, depending on how she is with the blanket, I might want my own blanket as well. I'm fine with cuddling, but when I sleep, I don't want a numb arm, hair in my face, or to feel like I can't move or adjust at night for fear of waking her up or overheating from the extra body heat. This isn't an issue when it's cold, but it doesn't happen often in a house with air conditioning or heating on constantly in blankets. I usually cuddle with her until she falls asleep, then turn to my side of the bed and go to sleep, unless I'm very tired and go to sleep first, which isn't often. Story 90. As a gay man, I never have a girl in bed with me. I do snuggle my boyfriend. I'm almost always the big spoon. But when one of us has our head on the other's chest, that's usually me. Story 91. Well, I normally slowly get her to the floor so my dog can come back into the bed. When she awakes, she will be confused and unsure how to move the dog. Story 92. Usually with my face in her vaginal area, with her fluids dripping down my chin and soaking the mattress. Story 93. I'm the little spoon, facing towards the world, and my girlfriend is facing towards me. Her attention is focused on me, and my attention is on the world around us, as it should be. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.